Imagine this. You are sitting on a flight somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, heading to a country you have never visited before, and the person sitting next to you turns and asks whether you are worried about arriving without a visa arranged in advance. You pull out a small navy blue booklet from your travel bag, flip it open to show the gold eagle embossed on the cover, and watch their expression change. Because what you are holding in your hand is not just a travel document. It is one of the most powerful passports on the entire planet. A document that opens the doors of more than 180 countries around the world without requiring you to arrange a visa in advance, without requiring you to pay fees to a foreign embassy weeks before your trip, and without requiring you to justify the purpose of your travel to a foreign government before you even board the plane. And beyond the travel access it provides, this document comes with something even more valuable: the protection of the full diplomatic and consular resources of the United States government, available to you in virtually every corner of the globe if you ever need it. Today, we are talking about the United States passport, what it gives you, how to get it, what has recently changed, and why every eligible American who does not yet have one needs to understand exactly what they are missing. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to U.S. Benefits Update. I am your host, Claire Hollister, and thank you so much for being here with us today. This channel is built around a single commitment: making sure that every American knows about the government programs, rights, benefits, and protections that are available to them. And today we are talking about something that is simultaneously one of the most practical travel tools in the world and one of the most tangible expressions of the rights and protections that come with American citizenship. The United States passport is more than a document that lets you cross borders. It is a gateway to global opportunity, a shield of protection when things go wrong abroad, and a benefit of citizenship that millions of eligible Americans have never fully explored or taken advantage of. Whether you are an experienced international traveler or someone who has never left the country and is curious about what a U.S. passport would actually give you, this video is going to give you a complete and clear picture of everything this document provides and exactly what you need to do to obtain one or renew the one you already have. Here is the update that makes this topic particularly timely and important right now. The United States Department of State has been implementing significant changes to the passport application and renewal process, and there are several developments in 2026 that every current and prospective passport holder needs to be aware of. The State Department has expanded its online passport renewal program, which was previously available only to certain applicants on a pilot basis, making it accessible to a broader range of eligible Americans. This is a significant change from the traditional process of mailing in a physical application and waiting for weeks or months for a renewed passport to arrive by mail. At the same time, the State Department has been updating and revising the list of countries to which U.S. citizens can travel without obtaining a visa in advance, reflecting ongoing changes in bilateral relationships, security assessments, and diplomatic agreements between the United States and other nations. Some destinations have been added to the visa-free list as a result of new agreements or improved relations, while others have seen changes to the conditions under which Americans can enter. Additionally, the State Department has updated its travel advisory system, which provides Americans with safety and security assessments of destinations around the world, and has issued new guidance about the services available to Americans at U.S. embassies and consulates when they are traveling or living abroad. All of these changes add up to a picture that is worth understanding in full, regardless of whether you are planning an international trip in the near future or simply want to understand the full scope of what your U.S. citizenship entitles you to when it comes to international travel and protection. There is also an important update related to passport processing times, which have been a significant source of frustration for American travelers in recent years. Following pandemic-era disruptions and staffing challenges at the State Department's passport processing centers, processing times stretched to unprecedented lengths, leaving some applicants waiting many months for their passports to be produced. The State Department has been working to reduce these backlogs, and current processing times have improved substantially from their peak, though they remain longer than pre-pandemic norms in many cases. Understanding current processing timelines is essential for anyone who needs a passport for upcoming travel, and we will cover the specifics of what to expect and how to navigate the process later in this video. To truly appreciate what the United States passport represents and why it carries the power that it does, we need to understand its history and the diplomatic framework that makes it so valuable as a travel document. The United States passport has been issued in various forms since the earliest days of the Republic, but it was transformed into the globally recognized document of power and privilege that it is today through decades of diplomatic work, treaty negotiations, and the evolution of the United States into the world's leading economic and geopolitical power. The modern international passport system is governed by standards set by the International Civil Aviation Organization, a United Nations specialized agency, which establishes the technical specifications for machine-readable travel documents, biometric data requirements, and security features. The United States has been at the forefront of adopting and, in many cases, driving these standards, and the U.S. passport is widely regarded as one of the most secure travel documents in the world, featuring multiple layers of anti-counterfeiting technology, a biometric chip that stores the holder's fingerprint and facial recognition data, and paper and printing processes that make forgery extraordinarily difficult. The visa-free access that the U.S. passport provides to more than 180 countries around the world is not a right that exists automatically by virtue of American citizenship. It is the result of bilateral and multilateral agreements that the United States government has negotiated with other countries over many decades. These agreements, often called Visa Waiver Agreements or Visa Exemption Agreements, are based on a principle of reciprocity. The United States agrees to allow citizens of another country to enter the U.S. without a visa, and that country agrees to do the same for American citizens. The negotiation of these agreements involves careful consideration of security factors, economic relationships, migration patterns, and the diplomatic relationship between the two countries. The most formalized of these arrangements is the Visa Waiver Program, which allows citizens of designated countries to travel to the United States for tourism or business for up to 90 days without a visa, in exchange for which citizens of the United States can travel to those countries on a reciprocal basis without obtaining a visa in advance. The Visa Waiver Program currently includes 42 countries, most of which are in Europe and the Asia-Pacific region, along with several in Latin America and elsewhere. Membership in the Visa Waiver Program requires a country to meet strict security criteria established by the United States, including information sharing on known terrorists and criminals, the issuance of electronic passports with biometric chips, and low rates of visa overstays and refusals for travelers seeking entry to the U.S. Beyond the formal Visa Waiver Program, the United States has bilateral agreements with many additional countries that provide Americans with visa-free or visa-on-arrival access that is not part of the formal program structure. Countries in Latin America, the Caribbean, Southeast Asia, and Africa often provide Americans with the ability to enter for tourism or short visits without a prearranged visa, either completely free or by paying a small fee upon arrival. The cumulative result of all these agreements is the access to over 180 countries that makes the U.S. passport one of the most powerful in the world in terms of global mobility. Let us now talk specifically about who is eligible for a United States passport, because this is foundational to everything else we are going to discuss. The eligibility rules are important to understand clearly, both for people who were born in the United States and for people who acquired U.S. citizenship through other means. The most straightforward category of U.S. passport eligibility is American citizens by birth. If you were born on U.S. soil, whether that is one of the 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, American Samoa, or the Northern Mariana Islands, you are a U.S. citizen by birth and are entitled to a U.S. passport. Your primary evidence of citizenship for the passport application is your U.S. birth certificate, and you will need to provide a certified copy of that birth certificate when you apply. If you were born in the United States but have never applied for a passport before, the process of locating and obtaining a certified birth certificate is often the first step and, in some cases, the most time-consuming one, particularly for older applicants whose birth records are not easily accessible electronically. The second major category is citizenship acquired at birth to U.S. citizen parents who were abroad at the time of the birth. If one or both of your parents were U.S. citizens at the time of your birth, you may have acquired U.S. citizenship at birth even if you were born in another country. The specific rules for this type of citizenship are complex and depend on factors including which parent or parents were citizens, how long those parents had lived in the United States prior to your birth, and when you were born, as the rules have changed over time through various pieces of legislation. If you believe you may have acquired citizenship at birth through a parent but have never formally established or documented that citizenship, a passport application is one of the ways you can initiate that process, though it may require submitting evidence of your parents' citizenship and their U.S. residency history. The third major category is naturalized citizens, meaning people who were not born as U.S. citizens, but who have gone through the legal process of becoming a citizen. Naturalized citizens have the full rights and benefits of citizenship, including the right to a U.S. passport. To apply for a passport as a naturalized citizen, you will need to provide your certificate of naturalization as evidence of your citizenship. It is important to note that lawful permanent residents, meaning green card holders, are not U.S. citizens and are not eligible for a U.S. passport. A green card entitles you to live and work in the United States permanently, but it does not give you the travel document of a U.S. citizen. The travel document for permanent residents is a reentry permit or a refugee travel document if applicable, or they travel on the passport of their country of citizenship. For minors, meaning children under 18 years of age, the passport application process has special rules designed to ensure that both parents are aware of and consent to the child obtaining a passport. Both parents or legal guardians must appear in person when a minor child is applying for a first passport, or one parent must provide a notarized statement of consent from the other parent. There are exceptions to the two-parent requirement in cases involving sole custody, one parent's unavailability, or other special circumstances. These requirements exist to prevent international parental abduction, which is a genuine concern that the State Department takes very seriously. Now let us talk about the full scope of what a U.S. passport actually gives you, because the benefits go far beyond simply being able to cross borders without standing in a visa line. The U.S. passport is a package of rights, protections, and opportunities that every holder should fully understand. The most immediate and obvious benefit is the visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to more than 180 countries around the world. This means that if you are planning a vacation to France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, and dozens of other popular destinations, you can simply book your flight, pack your bags, show up at the airport, and board the plane without having spent weeks navigating a foreign country's visa application process. The convenience and flexibility this provides for both leisure and business travel is enormous. Spontaneous travel decisions, last-minute business trips, and the ability to extend a stay in a country you love without bureaucratic complications are all made possible by the access the U.S. passport provides. The consular protection that comes with a U.S. passport is arguably even more valuable than the visa-free access, though it is less visible in normal circumstances because most trips go smoothly. U.S. embassies and consulates are located in virtually every country in the world, and their primary mission includes protecting the interests and safety of American citizens abroad. The specific services available to U.S. citizens at embassies and consulates include emergency passport replacement if your passport is lost or stolen while you are abroad, which can get you back home even when something goes wrong during your travels. They provide assistance to Americans who are arrested or detained abroad, including notifying family members, providing lists of local attorneys, and monitoring the conditions of detention to ensure that you are not being mistreated. They help Americans who are victims of crimes abroad, including helping connect them with local law enforcement and emergency services. They can assist Americans who are hospitalized or who die abroad, including helping coordinate with family members and facilitating the return of remains if necessary. They can issue emergency loans to destitute American citizens in certain extreme circumstances, allowing people to return home when they have exhausted their funds due to an emergency. The U.S. passport also gives you access to the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, known as STEP, which is a free service offered by the State Department that allows American citizens traveling or living abroad to register their trip with the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate. By enrolling in STEP, you receive important safety and security information about the country you are visiting. You make it easier for the embassy to contact you or find you in the event of an emergency, such as a natural disaster, civil unrest, or a family emergency back home, and you make it possible for family and friends to locate you through the embassy if they lose contact with you. Beyond the protection and convenience benefits, the U.S. passport is a fundamental identity document that is recognized and respected everywhere in the world. It is accepted as proof of identity and citizenship in virtually every country, by every airline, by international financial institutions, by hotels and car rental agencies, and in the countless other situations that arise during international travel where you need to establish who you are. For Americans who do not have a driver's license or other government-issued photo identification, the U.S. passport is also an accepted form of identification within the United States itself for purposes such as boarding domestic flights, opening bank accounts, and other situations where a real ID-compliant identification document is required. There is also the Global Entry Program, which is administered by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and which provides expedited clearance for pre-approved low-risk travelers upon their return to the United States from international travel. While Global Entry requires a separate application and enrollment process, having a U.S. passport is a prerequisite for participation, and the two together create a travel experience that is dramatically smoother and faster at international airports than what non-enrolled travelers experience. Global Entry members also receive TSA PreCheck, which allows for expedited security screening on domestic flights, meaning the combination of a U.S. passport and Global Entry enrollment transforms both your international and domestic travel experience. Understanding the timeline for obtaining or renewing a U.S. passport is one of the most practically important parts of what we are covering today because getting the timing right is essential for anyone who has upcoming international travel plans. The State Department's passport processing system has gone through significant changes in recent years, and current processing times are different from what they were before the pandemic and different from the worst of the backlog period that followed. For first-time passport applicants, the process begins with completing Form DS-11, the application for a U.S. passport, which is available online at travel.state.gov. You must apply in person at an authorized passport acceptance facility, which includes most post offices that offer passport services, many public libraries, and designated government offices. You will need to provide your proof of citizenship, such as a birth certificate or naturalization certificate, a government-issued photo identification, a passport photo that meets the State Department's specific requirements, and the applicable fees. As of 2026, the passport book fee for adults is $130 plus a $35 execution fee charged by the acceptance facility, bringing the total to $165. A passport card, which is a wallet-sized card that can be used for land and sea travel to Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Bermuda, but not for international air travel, costs $65 plus the execution fee. For renewals, eligible applicants who have a passport that is less than 15 years old, that was issued when they were 16 or older, and that is in their current name, may be eligible to renew by mail using Form DS-82 without appearing in person at an acceptance facility. As of 2026, eligible applicants may also use the State Department's online renewal system, which handles the process digitally and can, in some cases, result in faster processing. The renewal fee for a passport book is $130, and there is no execution fee for mail-in or online renewals. In terms of processing times, the State Department currently distinguishes between routine processing and expedited processing. Routine processing typically takes between 6 and 8 weeks from the date your completed application is received, though this can vary depending on the volume of applications the processing centers are handling at any given time. Expedited processing, which carries an additional $60 fee, aims to process applications in 2 to 3 weeks. For travelers with imminent international travel, meaning travel within 72 hours, or requiring a foreign visa in the next 4 weeks, appointments at regional passport agencies are available that can produce a passport within 1 to 3 business days of the appointment. These urgent appointments are in high demand and require proof of imminent travel to book. One of the most important timeline considerations for passport holders is keeping their passport current. U.S. passports for adults are valid for 10 years from the date of issue. Many countries have a rule requiring that your passport be valid for at least 6 months beyond the date of your intended return from their country, meaning that if your passport expires in 8 months and you are planning a trip to a country with this requirement, you may be denied boarding or refused entry even though your passport is technically not expired. The State Department's website includes country-specific information about entry requirements, and travelers should always check these requirements well in advance of booking international travel, particularly as passports approach the end of their validity period. Travel experts, foreign policy analysts, and legal professionals who specialize in immigration and consular affairs have a great deal to say about the U.S. passport and the protections it provides, and their perspectives help illuminate both the genuine power of this document and the ways in which it is sometimes misunderstood or underutilized by American travelers. Travel security experts who advise corporations and high-net-worth individuals on international travel risk management consistently rank the U.S. passport among the most valuable assets a traveler can possess in an emergency situation abroad. The network of U.S. embassies and consulates around the world, while not unlimited in what it can do for citizens in distress, represents a level of institutional support that citizens of most other countries simply do not have access to at the same scale and quality. When a major crisis occurs in a foreign country, whether it is a natural disaster, a political coup, a terrorist attack, or a public health emergency, the State Department's ability to organize evacuation assistance, communicate with citizens through the STEP program, and coordinate with local authorities on behalf of American nationals provides a genuine safety net that the holder of a U.S. passport benefits from simply by virtue of carrying it. Foreign policy analysts have pointed to the correlation between the strength of the U.S. passport and the overall power and diplomatic reach of the United States as a nation. The visa-free access that Americans enjoy in so many countries is not just a convenience. It is a reflection of the diplomatic relationships that the United States has built over generations, the security cooperation agreements it has maintained, and the economic weight that the United States carries in bilateral negotiations. Analysts note that changes in geopolitics can affect the strength of any passport over time, and that the current international environment, with its shifting alliances and evolving bilateral relationships, makes it more important than ever for Americans to stay informed about the current visa requirements for their intended destinations, rather than assuming that access that existed in the past still exists today. Immigration attorneys and consular law specialists have highlighted a few specific areas where American travelers frequently misunderstand the scope of the protection that a U.S. passport and embassy representation actually provide. One common misconception is that the U.S. Embassy can get an American out of legal trouble in a foreign country. The reality is more nuanced. While embassies can and do assist Americans who are arrested abroad by ensuring they have access to legal representation, notifying family members, and monitoring detention conditions, They cannot order a foreign government to release an American citizen. They cannot intervene in the legal proceedings of a sovereign foreign nation, and they cannot pay legal fees or bail on behalf of a detained citizen. The protection that a U.S. passport provides is powerful, but it operates within the framework of international law and the sovereignty of foreign governments. Travel writers and lifestyle journalists who cover international travel have consistently noted that the U.S. passport is one of the most taken-for-granted benefits of American citizenship, particularly among Americans who do not travel internationally with great frequency. Survey data has consistently shown that a substantial percentage of Americans do not hold a valid U.S. passport at any given time, which means that a significant portion of the population is not positioned to take advantage of the travel access and protection that citizenship provides. Industry observers and travel advocates have increasingly been calling attention to passport access and the passport application process as a topic that deserves more public education and outreach, particularly in communities where international travel has historically been less common. Before we wrap up today, we want to hear from you about your experiences with international travel and with the U.S. passport. Have you had a situation abroad where the U.S. Embassy came through for you when you needed help? Have you recently gone through the passport application or renewal process, and do you have tips or experiences to share with our community? Or are you someone who has been thinking about getting a passport for the first time and has questions about the process? Drop all of it in the comments section below, because our community of viewers is one of the most engaged and knowledgeable audiences on YouTube when it comes to topics like this, and the conversation in our comments section is consistently one of the most valuable resources we offer. If this video helped you understand the power and the process of the U.S. passport more clearly, please take a moment right now to give it a thumbs up. It truly makes a difference in helping our videos reach more Americans who need this information, and it helps us understand that we are covering the topics that matter most to our audience. Please share this video with family members, friends, or colleagues who might not have a current passport or who might not fully understand the protections and access that one provides. This is genuinely life-changing information for some people, and sharing it is one of the most useful things you can do for someone in your circle. If you are not yet subscribed to U.S. Benefits Update, please subscribe right now and hit that notification bell so you receive an alert every single time we publish a new video. We cover the full landscape of programs, rights, and policies that affect Americans both at home and abroad, from government benefits and tax changes to immigration updates, travel advisories, and financial relief programs. Our promise to every viewer is always the same: clear information, plain language, and content that is genuinely useful to your real life. I am Claire Hollister, and on behalf of everyone here at U.S. Benefits Update, thank you so much for watching today. Stay informed, stay protected, and we will see you in the very next video.